So hi everybody, welcome to the 20R6 release webinar. For this webinar, this is a time that we like to take, Ad and myself, to not only learn everything about R6 and play with all of the new features that come out after its release, but also we like to present it to you. And in this demo, I'm gonna kind of go over the features as they are, and all the new features that were added to R6. And then Ad is going to, Ad has been working on some really beneficial and helpful demos to really highlight the features and how to use them. So Ad, who will be presenting today? So my name is Will Taylor. I'm the technical account manager and I head up the professional services team in 40 US. And Ad Komoncharoensiri is the Director of Technical Services here in the US as well. So that's that. There are gonna be 5 main topics today. Developer issues. Updates to the development environment, or features that developers can use. Updates to ORDA. Updates to the user interface. Updates to what's been going on with Qodly Studio for 4D, and last but not least, 4D Write Pro updates. During this presentation, I'm going to be presenting, we're going to be running demos, we're going to be switching back and forth between Ad and my screens, so bear with us there. And after each section, after each of those 5 sections, if you do have any questions, if you can put them in the Q&A section, and then that allows us to kind of gather all of the questions and answer them, and it's much easier to answer questions and do things like that. And it also keeps them, our answers, stored. That way, if we do, for whatever reason, make a mistake, which we do, we can reach back out to the person and get them the right answer. So yeah. I think that's it. And again, please keep the questions on topic, right? So that we're discussing the 20R6 release right now. So there we go. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment, which is developer news. And this is, I think, looking at the people here, it seems like most of the attendees are developers. So this is really news you can use. So first off, as you may know, Sequoia came out, I think it was about a month and a half ago, and we'd like to say that 40 is keeping up with the faster and faster release cycle for operating systems. So 20.5 and 20R6 is Sequoia certified, and also Windows 11 24H2 certified. Okay, that's really good. So you can feel free on the latest versions of 4D. If your end users do, or you get a new computer, that's pretty cool. You can get you have to worry about the operating system that's on it. And then just a quick overview. This is from a blog post, and I think it's always important to review. As you can see here, 20R6. The most recent, the oldest certified Apple OS is Ventura. Okay, just let you know that. And then for Windows, the most certified is the most is 2016, a server, and Windows 10 with the latest release. Okay, so that's that. The next thing is extended support of singletons for REST and Qodly. So as you know, a singleton design pattern creates a single instance of a class that is accessible through your application. And this approach provides many numerous benefits, including serving as a host for inter-process variables, or something like inter-process variables before. That's kind of fallen by the wayside recently. Acting as a utility class, like a logger, providing a foundation for the factory design pattern. That's kind of a factory creates things. I went over it last webinar, and many other things. So in 20R6, we've taken singletons to the next level. Singletons can now be called through the 4D REST API, which makes them usable out of the box in any application, especially Qodly Studio for 4D. When working in Qodly Studio for 4D, one second, I have to that. When working Qodly Studio for 4D, singletons are treated like data classes, which means you can expose and interact with them and their functionality directly in the catalog. So you see you have a shared singleton, and then you expose that function, and in your catalog, you now have the singleton exposed in your REST API. So it's pretty cool. If you want to test it right now, don't make the mistake I did at first in using the Chrome browser. It's only working with Post, so you'll need to send that with Postman, and to be able to send it with Postman. But coming soon, you will be able to interact with it with the browser. So, word of warning. As many of you know, 4D developers often rely on third-party components, especially those available on GitHub. Now, with this new feature, you can directly integrate the components within the components dependency manager. And what's even more exciting is that 4D can automatically retrieve components stored in repository releases. This means you can easily manage and update your dependencies straight from GitHub with just a few clicks. Simply include the components in your dependencies.json file, and you can, as you can see in the screen, and you can add the new version. So now you no longer have, so now that information component is on, is the releases of information component are on GitHub now. That's where we're storing them. We've removed them from Tau. So you have no reason to never not have the latest version of information component, or in other words, you should always stay up to date with the information component. So, and then more details about how this works exactly on the blog, or since you're lucky here, we have a cool demo from Ad. So I'm going to stop my share. I will let Ad share. Then we can go from there.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So for our first demo, this is something that we kind of discussed the first phase of the component manager in the last webinar, which is the ability to reference any of your components on the disk, different level, different part of your app on your hard drive. Now, with the new features that allowing you to access component directly from GitHub, it's going to make your life so much easier. So let's go ahead and take a look at, well, first, let's go back here a little bit, take a look at our dependency, which is going to show us what components that we are using in this database. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and this is something that we all know pretty well. Most of you, or maybe all of you, have used it, is the information component. We are using a lot in tech support for troubleshooting and trying to access particular information about how your application performs. So currently, the component is being installed next to the package. Let's see. I'm going to open up the folder. So you can see that's the location of the component, and where it's being referenced from is in the dependency.json file. So let's have a look. So that's the file, what the file looks like. I'm going to increase the font size a little bit so you can see. Okay, so very basic. This is the name of your package. So now we want to switch from using the local component to the one from GitHub. Now, before we do that, let's go back to 4D. So I have a little shortcut here to send me directly to 4D GitHub. Okay. So once you're there, you'll be able to find all sorts of open source projects, including any of our public component as well. So I'm going directly to repository. I'm going to go down a little bit. So here is the information component. So we're going to go inside. Let's take a look. Okay, so now that we are here, when you build a component, that there will always be different revision depending on the version of 40 that you use. So you can go down here and take a look at what version of the component that you would like to use. Now, if you want to use the latest one, that's an easy way to do that. So let's go back to Sublime Text a little bit right here, and I'm going to scroll down so you can see. So we're going to replace, instead of the package name, we're going to replace it with the actual component name. That's the first thing, all right? Next, we are going to add additional attribute, which is GitHub. Okay. And what is going to be specified in this attribute is the path to that component. And you can see right here, very easy, 40/40 info report. Okay, so we're going to do exactly just that. All right. The next thing we want to specify is the version. Now we are going to be using the latest version, okay? So in this case, we'll just put in star, and that's it. Okay, I'm saving the file. I'm going to hide this screen window as well as the browser. We're going to reopen again this dependency window, and you can see right away that is now trying to find the component, but it can't because, well, in order for the component to kick in, you have to restart the application. So let's do that. So during the restarting of the application, 40 actually go and grab that component and put it into a specific location on the disk. Now, when you take a look at this window now, you will see the icon also changed to Git icon, right? And it's no longer pink, indicating that our component is ready to be used. And just to confirm, we can go back here and take a look at component. You can see that all of the methods are listed nicely. Okay, so that's just one very easy way for you to use this feature. You can see that it's going to speed up the process in terms of making changes and update your source and your deployment. Okay, and that's it for this demo. Back to you, Will.
So that's really cool, and that's one really easy way to always keep your components up to date. And there are many other use cases that you have. There's upgrading only and specific version changes, minor version, major version changes. There's all sorts of different things for you to play with, for you to really be confident that you're always getting the correct version of the component in there. So super cool. Thanks, Ed. So let's move on to the next feature. Now, warnings are essential for catching potential code issues, and now you can tailor them to suit your project's needs. With 20R6, you can globally define which warnings appear in the compiler and code editors, helping you to focus on the most important alerts or ones that you care about. And for this topic, I'll pass the mic back to Ad again to review this in detail with y'all.
Okay, let me share my screen. Now we're back here. So, as developers, sometimes you write code that you know that is going to work and not going to cause a problem. However, in some cases, 40 doesn't really know your intention. That's why some of the warning maybe appear in your compiler or while you're doing syntax check. Now, if you don't really want to see some of those warnings, we can address the issue with using this feature. But first, I'm going to go back to our compiler window here. We'll just run some syntax checking, okay? We have some errors here on the top and 2 warnings. Now, we don't care about the error for now. So normally when you want to get rid of the warning and you don't want to see them, you can just simply turn this option off. But let's just say you want to only display the one that's essential to your development. Now, these 2 perhaps you don't really think it's going to be a problem, you can go directly to the database setting under compiler. You go to warnings, and every warning comes with an ID. So this is going to help us track down where in the list that we need to turn off. So let's look at the first one, which is 550.18. So we can scroll down 550.18 and right here. Okay, so we are going to turn that off, right? And then what's the next one is 518.10. So we're going to go back. Okay, locate that error here. 518.10, which is this one right here. Let's turn that off. Save that. So the next time when you do syntax check or compile your application, those warnings will not appear anymore. So it's going to help you kind of clean up some of the things that you don't want to see in the compiler window. All right. So that's just a small feature, but I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for your development. Back to you, Will.
Thanks. Thank you, Ad. Very cool. Next feature is the shallow comparison of objects and collections. So in 20R6, comparing object references is now easier than ever using the equal or pound operators, or depending on how old you are, you say pound, or you can say hash, right? Maybe for the young people. They allow you to determine if objects or collections share the same reference or are distinct, right? So for instance, when you declare two objects and assign one to the other, they share the same reference. Now, using these comparison operators, you can confidently assert their equality or difference of reference, their referential equality or difference. So this applies to collections, and this applies to both collections and objects. So, easy way to compare references, like you have in C++. So, using classes across components. So this is a new feature for components. So this feature addresses a common challenge faced by the component developers. The need to access classes from one component from another component, so from two different components. Now, previous versions of 4D, achieving this was possible at the cost of an inelegant workaround, or modifications to the components themselves. Now with 20R6, we've simplified the process by introducing name-based class access. So to leverage this feature, to use this feature, you simply need to declare a namespace for your component. And once you do this, the classes within that component become accessible to other components loaded in the same host project. Now, for example, here's an example. Here from component 2, you have a method called access component 1. And as you can see here, we're creating a new instance of a provider object from the component 1 main namespace from within component 2. In the end, your code gets simpler and easier to share and to maintain. So pretty cool. And 4020R6 improves how you can manage session data across various application types, be it client server, web, or mobile. So with this new feature, you now have access to a specific session's storage. Your users can maintain continuity and consistency across multiple sessions. Imagine pulling up the same customer record while switching from client server to web applications. So say hello to the command session storage by ID. If you want to dig a little bit deeper, there is a 4-minute YouTube video that the team created that demonstrates how this feature works, and it can be found on the blog. But since you're here today, you're in luck because Ad has a demo for you, and he wants to talk about it.
Okay. All right, guys. Back to the same demos. So this is such a sounds like a small feature that we added, but actually it opens up quite a bit of possibility, not only from the using of the storage inside of the session itself, but the ability to access the storage from a different session. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the use case that I think would be helpful and beneficial to your application. So currently I have the application running in the standalone. I'm going to go ahead and quit and launch it in for the server for the server. Okay, so here. All right. Now that we have the application running, I'm going to connect to my server with my 4D remote. Okay. So I'm going to go in as designer. Oh, password would be nice. Okay. So we're going to go through some basic stuff first, which is now that you have well, actually, let's go back a little bit. Session is kind of a concept that started with the web access, right? Every web scalable web session will create an object that is, very unique to that session. Now that same session is also created for a 4D remote connection, which is very good. But the key is, what do you do with that session information now that we also have a storage to store information and maintain the context? So I'm going to give you just a simple scenario that could be used in your own project. So the first case is actually quite simple. So I have something that set up so that every time when a 4D remote connected to the server, it loads something from the disk, okay? And this could be coming from anywhere, but I choose on the disk for the sake of the demo. So that information actually being saved here. I created a file called access.json, and I'm going to show you what's inside, okay? So very simple. If you're logging in as a designer, then you have access to all, okay? Logging in as administrator, you have preference, backup reports, sales, customers, invoices, and blah, 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 okay? So let's hide that, go back to 4D. So to see this in action, if I'm launching this command method right here, what it's going to do is it's going to go to the server, return me with the information that I saved in the storage, and I'll show it to you where the storage is being loaded and populate the data where the data is being populated from. So this is just a simple palette to show you that I'm logging in as a designer. I have access to all of these, right? So if I'm logging in as a different user, for example, administrator, if I'm executing the same method, I'm going to have a different access. Okay, so that's just a simple way to use the storage inside the session, but I'm going to show you how I'm doing this. So from here, there's a method called load access. Okay, so this method is actually reading the file content on any time that well, let's go back here. I choose to let's see, where's the method there? Oh, sorry. Let's come back here. So this is the method that opened the palette, right? So as soon as it establishes its own process, it makes the call to get access. So this get access does nothing more than just making a execution on the server. And this server again, is being executed on the server. It loads the access. Okay. It looks at the file content and providing with the username who is logging in, and just load the literal collection that it has into the storage. And once it's doing that, it returns that information back to the caller, which is now at this point I can use that information to populate the appropriate information on the screen. So again, if I'm executing this, it just go into the server, get information back, and then use that information. But again, this is just a very simple use case in putting stuff in a storage and then accessing from the server. I'm going to show you another use case, which is a way to access someone else's session storage, which could be very interesting for some of you. So I'm using again, another simple scenario is to drop a message to someone. Okay, so we can have multiple people logging in at the same time. If I want to drop some a quick message to another employee, I could do that by using the storage inside of that session. So I have another instance of 4D connecting to this same server right now. So here we have two, okay, connection. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. First, I'm going to launch this method. What it's doing is basically kind of like showing the list of the users connected to the server. I'm not showing myself, I'm only showing whoever's connected to the same server. So in this case, another machine I have connected to this server is the administrator. Okay, actually, I could send a message to that person right now. Okay, so if I send something like, okay, this is a great way to communicate. Okay, now I set send, right? But you don't really see anything because it happens on the other machine. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the exact same thing from another machine back to here by sending just a few messages from there. So let's see. All right. So sending one message, another message, and the final message. So these messages actually being stored inside of the storage of this current user on the server. So you can see very quickly if I'm going here, I'm going to go inside here and show you what it actually is doing by put a little breakpoint trace. Okay. All right. So this is actually happening on the server right now. So if I'm checking my own session, that's the storage. Okay. That's a message that I created. Another user drop in. So there are 3 messages that has been dropped by another user. So this thing will continue to be maintained by the session, and you can keep as many information in here, something other than messages as well. So this, again, this is such a nice way to communicate from one session to another just through using the ID of the session. All right. So hopefully this is clear to everyone. Again, we'll point it out also that there is another video on the blog that will also show a different a demo with a little bit more explanation, and hopefully they will be useful for you guys. Okay, back to you, Will.
Wow, that's a pretty cool way to That's a cool use case. I remember doing something similar in the computer lab when the Unix computer lab sending messages that way. But that yours looks much nicer than on the command line. So super cool. So that's it for the developer kind of updates in 20R6 for developers. Any questions thus far? Someone did mention that you need to in 4020 on modern OSs, you need to provide access to local network. And that makes sense since it's a database system, but just to remember that 40 does require a lot of system access, getting information from the disk, etc. So, and also OSs are locking things down more and more. So it's also a good thing. Anytime we load up Teams, we have to give it access to videos and things like that. So I think there are no questions right now. So I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to forge ahead. Next is a little bit of ORDA update. So some ORDA news. So we've all encountered this challenge before. You design a beautiful interface displaying an entity selection for your users. Now they go in there, click, 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 and drop some users. And then you have an empty space in that entity selection. And that just kind of like doesn't look good. So with 20R6, rebuilding a new entity selection manually is no longer necessary. With a new clean function, it takes care of this with just one line of code. For example, as you can see in this video, we're clicking around, you drop that, you have the whole, you click clean, form equals form.persons equals form.persons.clean, and that cleans up the entity selection, removing all of the empty entities. So, and allowing you to have a clean interface. And you could have gone just directly without, you could drop n clean by doing that. So you can drop and then drop n clean as well. So very cool feature. So, and that's it on the ORDA updates. Any questions about anything you've seen thus far? It's a quiet crowd today. So next is on to UI updates. So in earlier versions of 4D, scrolling could be frustrating. We either had the entire subform that would scroll or the objects inside would, but it's not always as what you'd expect in a modern UI. So in 20R6, this has been made to be more intuitive, matching with modern UI practices. Now everything is based on where the cursor is hovering over when you scroll. Whatever form or subform the cursor is hovering over will be scrolled at that time. Here's a really simple demo to kind of understand this. So here you have your cursor, you scroll down, a bunch of text in the subform. When you get to the bottom, it scrolls until it reaches another subform that has a scrollable area, and then it keeps on going thusly. So pretty cool. And that's it on that's a major update. And was a feature request from a lot of people, so they like that. So glad to see that's coming in. Next is on to 40 Write Pro news. So now, as you know, tables in 40 Write Pro can now be populated by data sources, opening up endless possibilities for customization. But what happens when that data source is empty? So in 20R6, we've introduced the WK empty data source attribute, giving you greater control of how tables behave when their linked data sources have no data. For instance, if you think displaying a given table is not relevant, it doesn't make sense when there's no data to display, you can simply hide it with the command shown on screen. WK empty data source, WK hide table. Cool. But this isn't just about hiding tables. We need to be able to define the way in which your application and your document looks when you get there. So there's all sorts of different attributes that you can have for the empty data source attribute. Like for example, WK date show data row, and this is the default setting. In such a case, the table will appear with its header and empty data row. Okay. Next is the hide data row. Now this will keep the header and the footer, but will hide any data row itself. So you're able to show that you don't have any data by only showing the header and the footer. Hide the entire table. WK hide table, that's the one I showed you before. And this is a great way to eliminate the table itself when there's empty data source. And display a placeholder row. And this allows you to provide a clear message or placeholder when the data is missing. You can say something like, no data to be found, or something like that. Okay. And if you'd like to, and if this sounds interesting to you and you feel like you can use this, there is a how do I on the blog where all of these options are illustrated. That's very cool. The next is a PDF A3 attachment expansion. So previously in 20R5, we demonstrated how to embed documents into a PDF file using the A3 format. And this is a major issue as all electronic invoices need to be in this format for many European countries. Now, with R6, we provide the ability to extract these documents from the PDF file using the command PDF get attachments. Now, Ad will do a deep dive into this, into way in which we can use this information in this new format for ourselves. So, without further ado.
Okay, let's see. Okay, we're back here. Just one correction. So it's not a command; it's the method inside the component, and this is the official public component that we released to perform the extraction of attachment from a PDF A3 format. But before we get into that point, I want to kind of step back a little bit and kind of go over just how the document can be actually composed with attachments from inside of 4D. We kind of mentioning it last time when we were in the webinar for R5. So let's have a look at this demo. I put together just a simple form with 4D Write Pro with some options to attach some documents. Okay, so as Will said, some of the European country is now required to have these type of file format, especially for electronic invoices, financial documents and stuff like that. So I want to take that same concept of the use case, but maybe in a little bit different type of documents and the nature of the document. So if you have business, you probably have done some of these things yourself, like creating a business plan, for example. And as you know, in any business plans, you could have multiple types of document that goes along with that, financial analysis, brochures, any supporting documents to your business plan. So I'm going to start by just importing an executive summary into this 4D Write document. So I'm going to construct the whole thing on the fly, okay? So we have this executive summary again. It's just one single document right now. Now, let's suppose you want to be able to attach everything into this document so that it can be a single bundle that you can deliver to anyone, right? So we can click on this little icon here to expand. So we're going to add some documents into this main executive summary. So I'm going to choose the document. So we have marketing budget, projection, pictures, brochure. We're going to add that into the list. Okay, now that we have this in the picture, we can actually produce a single PDF document, A3 format on the disk. I have added a little button here. I'm going to go ahead and click, and I'm going to save that on the desktop. We'll call it business plan. Okay. And then save that. Okay, so you can see that there is a new document created on the disk here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up with my preview, and you can see the information is here. Now, usually you will not be able to see attachment directly from preview. Oftentimes, to access attachment, you will need to have something like Acrobat Reader to be able to view attachment that comes along with your PDF. Now, we don't have that, so the next best thing is to build something in 4D that allow us to access that, and that's where the component comes in. Okay, so let's close that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where the component is on our GitHub, and we're going to use the same concept that we showed to you earlier by accessing this particular component directly from GitHub. So I'm going to go there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my dependency.json file. Okay, I'll close something that we don't need. Okay, so that's the component. Okay, so what we want to do now, we want to add another block here. We're going to call it as what you see on the screen, QPDF. Okay, that's the name of the component. And we'll have to obviously specify some of the attributes here. That would be 4D/4DQPDF. Okay. Next thing is, well, we can specify a version too. So we can take a look quickly if we want to choose a particular version. So in this case, there's only one. We'll go ahead and instead of using star, I just want to show you that you can actually put the version number in there and it will work the same. Okay. So that would be v1.0.0. Okay. And that's it. So save that. We'll hide this window. We'll go back to 4D and take a look at our dependency quickly. Okay, you can see that it's pink right now. Let's restart the application to let the component starting to get downloaded here. Okay, so here we go. We're back here now. The component is ready to go. And let's close that. Let's take a look at our component. Okay, I'm going to expand this window. You can see it comes with the documentation as you can follow as well, which is quite nice. So if you go down to the bottom, you'll see that there is an example code. So I'm going to copy just to show you quickly what it means, right? Copy these 2 lines, okay? And then I'm going to go back to my method, empty method here. Let's paste that in there, okay? So what I want to do is I want to show you what it means when you call this method. So I'm going to put in my business plan. Okay, so it's on the desktop, so we'll okay. And then I'm going to make sure that it knows that it's a platform path. Okay, so that will be the file that I want to open, and I'm going to extract that information out of the attachment, and it's going to go into this variable. Okay, so let's do one line at a time. So we have the path, we extract that. Okay, so let's see what's the content inside is going to look like. So we have 3 items, and you can see that there's actually listed all of these information, which is you can be helpful in many, many ways, right? Content, that's the blob of the actual document. It gives you extension, full name, on type, and things that you need to know about that document. Okay, and we have three things. Now that we have this information, what do we do with it, right? So it's just a matter of your imagination now. So in my case, obviously, I always enjoyed putting that into a real good use case. So I created this thing called PDF viewer. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up the PDF on the desktop. Okay, so it's here. All right. So now that we have this document open, we're going to take a look at what's inside of this document, what's attached with this document. You can see that there are 3 items. And I set it up so that you can double click on the name of the document itself. Is going to open up using the corresponding application. Okay, so this is coming. Okay. Okay, so I have that brochure. Let's go back to 4D again. That's the last thing. Let's open up the picture. Okay, so just like that. Now that you kind of get the idea of what you can do with this feature. And, the nice thing is that now we have a way to not only create a PDF A3 document, we have a way to read it and extract the information from it. So there you have it. That's it. Back to you, Will.
So that's it for the 40 Right Pro. Again, if any questions come up, feel free to put them in the Q&A section. We like it. I like to be kept on my toes, and it makes the webinar more fun. We do have a question from Guy regarding using GitHub. What happens if a dependency you are using is removed, like the repo gets blown out or the release gets removed?
So the 4D will report the problem. You can always rely on going back to the dependency windows to tell you whether it recognized that the component or not, because every launch 4D will check and trying to get the latest information from your dependency setting.
Yeah, I think we saw that in the first demo ad, if I'm not mistaken. It went pink, right?
Right. So
It goes
yeah,
red or pink,
right.
and it says,
Because
and then your dependencies aren't going to be.
Mhm.
And then I guess you wouldn't be able to build your application if you're
Yeah.
using that code. So you would know that. You would go to then, and when you go to build, and then you wouldn't be able to build or even run. So hope that makes sense. Are the local files removed? I guess is the question. So does it mess with the local files? So for example, I guess the idea is you're working, you have that version of PDF of the PDF on the QPDF. You grab the version 1.0 and you've got that in your local file system. You shut down your computer at the end of the day. Someone else, they realize that they don't want to maintain that, and then they're not maintaining that repository anymore. So they just kill that repository. What happens to your local files when you open up the next day?
It's gone.
Locally?
4D doesn't keep it as a cache, right? You don't think of it as 4D download it once and use it forever. 4D, every time when you launch 4D will check to see if that reference actually there. It doesn't really care what it downloaded before. So it's a fresh download every time.
Okay.
And this is very important because just imagine if you do multiple revision of components that you fix bugs, right? You don't want to have the user have the old version. So anytime that you change the number, you want that to really be a live update.
Yeah, makes sense. And then someone asks, will it roll back to a previous version if the new one gets, so say the new one is buggy. If you have version star, it'll grab the latest version that's
Yeah,
available.
all you need to do, let's say let's say there are 3 versions on GitHub, okay? You go 1 and you go 2, 3, and you realize, oh, number 3 is buggy, you want to go back to 2. Then all you need to do is just change the content in your dependency, change the version to number 2, and it will get the version number 2 back the next time you restart.
Okay, so yeah, what you're saying is you can roll it back
You can roll
yourself,
it back. Yeah.
or if the person that does the repository like removes that, and you're on the star, you're on this. I'm not sure if you can remove or you have to always increment. You can roll back a version in a repository, but you can, yeah, if you have the star, it'll grab the latest. If you have the 2, it'll grab the if you say 2, it'll grab the second version always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll roll back to a producer. I think that's been answered. Answer live. And then to expand that, will 40 remove the component if the repository is deleted? I guess if the repository is deleted, or will it leave the last downloaded component and flag it as an error?
Yeah, it will flag it, that pink area in the dependency. It means that the user, the, the component is being specified for one particular version, but you just can't find it. So yeah, it will flag it as an error.
But you won't have the component currently installed on
No,
your system.
right. So
40 it will be quote unquote removed, and it'll be flagged as an error. Cool. It's a lot more moving parts than we're currently used to. I think this is acting more like like a general package manager. It's pretty cool. And there are going to be continue to be updates. And if you do feel, and this is a work in progress, every time we meet, every 3 months, there's always new over the past 3 or 4 webinars, there have been new updates to this feature. So by all means, if you feel like we're going in the wrong direction, feel free to put something in the feature request form. Okay. On discuss.40.com, and then then we can have some real discussion, and that's where the engineering team gets that information. So thank you all for your questions about this. It's really cool. And yeah, bring the discussion to discuss, I think, and then that's where the engineering team will really get involved, and we can figure out what makes the most sense and what makes life the easiest for people. All right, cool. Thanks. If any other questions do come up, by all means, it's live, done. Oh shoot, did I miss one?
I think you hit too fast.
Oh, someone asked, will it work with a private GitHub repository? Probably not.
I'm not sure. For private,
I don't think it authenticates. I mean, I don't think it authenticates. There's no authentication. So, I mean, looking at ads dependencies file, he didn't have to authenticate, because when you want to access your private repositories, you have to authenticate. There's no authentication method in this, so I don't think it would. But maybe that is something that people that could be added into a feature request if you have a lot of private GitHub repositories.
I'll pass that on to the team, definitely. I know that some of the component may be private, right? So
Yeah. But that's great. It's great that you're using if you're generating creating components and you're generating them and you're able to then have all of this in your private environment. That's a really good like software development strategy. So sounds like a feature enhancement there. Yep.
It looks like multiple of you guys are
Yeah.
doing this. So yeah, we'll pass it on to the team and hopefully we can do something about it.
Qodly Studio for 4D. So Qodly Studio. So I'm thrilled to talk about a major milestone. Qodly Studio for 4D has officially reached the beta status with the 20R6 release. Now, beta means that we consider the feature set sufficient for you, a developer, to build business web applications with. You're now ready to extend your 4D desktop app with Qodly Pages. So, and Qodly Studio is your web browser-based tool allowing you to design Qodly pages like what you see here. These pages come equipped with a wide array of UI components and full CSS3 support. The best part? You can map user events such as button clicks or on-page load, like you do in 4D, directly to your 4D ORDA code using Qodly sources. And you just saw here, that's a 4D, it's a Qodly application in flight. Now, what if you can't confine the UI component for your needs? Well, don't worry. Thanks to custom components, you have the freedom to add whatever you need from specific widgets like advanced data visualizations, like that one, a bar chart, or that's a Kvyat graph, or maps, or mapping, or calendaring components. So many custom components are already available on GitHub, making it incredibly easy to extend your apps with just a few clicks. Now, one standout feature is page states. Page states allow you to have multiple visual states for your Qodly pages, and it's incredibly simple to enable or disable these states, whether it's changing the layout based on a click or adapting the layout dynamically using Qodly sources or user privileges. Admin sees this, designer sees this, accountant sees that. The possibilities are endless. So here you go. You can show hide, dark, boom, page state, dark mode, light mode. Super simple page state. Or hiding or unhiding the password. Page state. So, and login and logout is now made easier than ever. Set up your 4D REST server with forced login. Design your login page and you're set. No 4D license is needed until the user authenticates. And I'd like to take a moment to thank all the developers who have already started on their journey with Qodly. We're thrilled with the creativity and innovation we've seen thus far. And don't worry, there's so much more to come. We're continuously adding new features and improvements to the product. So stay tuned for more exciting updates with every webinar release. And if you're not sure where to start, check out our tutorials and demos on the blog. And don't forget to visit our documentation at developer.qodly.com or developer.4d.com. And if you do have an idea for a business application, you don't know where to start, feel free to reach out to the team and we can help you. We can help you and direct you with resources and people. And there are members of the team that are here to answer your questions. So I'd like to say there's always more on the 4D blog for as developers or people that use 4D. It's a great resource. It's where we all start to learn about features in the team, where we get great how-to-whys, videos, and where it's a jumping off point for getting to know about what's been going on with 4D. And take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.